Ziba, who has been keeping tabs on the PIC inquiry that's currently underway and is expected to wrap up today. Has that been confirmed? Nompu, a very good morning to you. Is the inquiry wrapping up today?
Thanks, Desiree. Yes, the inquiry is going to wrap up temporarily today after they've heard witnesses. We're not quite sure how many witnesses they're going to be listening to today, but they are supposed to be senior managers from the PIC. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be a 3-week recess, and then they'll resume with the hearings 3 weeks from now. I think they said somewhere around the 26th of February they will continue. This is likely to be fairly lengthy, perhaps not as long as state capture. But certainly it's going to take quite some time. So today, as I say, we don't know who they're going to be speaking to as yet, but it's going to be more PIC staff, senior managers apparently. And yesterday, of course, just to recap, we were listening to the testimony of Dr. Claudia Manning. She was a non-executive board director at the PIC for about 2.5 years, and she decided to leave last year. She said that when she left the PIC, it was a very divided board. And at the centre of that division was the fact that people didn't quite know how to handle all the allegations that had been levied against Dan Machila, who was the CEO at the time. She talked about lots of governance slips. She talked about some of the investments which have been very controversial, like in the AO Technology Solutions deal where the PIC stumped up a lot of cash, some 4.3 billion rand, and it ended up, with the benefit of hindsight, being an unwise investment. But even with foresight, people say that the PIC should not have invested in that. It seems as though many procedures were flouted in that particular investment, and they didn't follow procedures in terms of deciding how to invest. There is a procedure. Also with VBS, also a very bad investment indeed. A couple of days ago, we had a advocacy and monitoring group which looks after the government employee pension fund saying that they're really worried about the strategy in some instances that PIC has been taking in terms of its investments, because ultimately they're just interested in getting a return on the pensioners' investment.
Judge Lex Mpati, with the help of Jill Marcus and Chief Lediga, are supposed to determine whether there has been impropriety in processes at the PIC. With all the evidence that you've taken in since the beginning, what conversations are taking place there in terms of, has there been impropriety, or are they still trying to figure it out?
Phew, Desiree, you know what? There's a lot. There haven't been that many witnesses, but the information is a lot, and trying to piece everything together. Sometimes they talk around the very same subject, and you're not quite sure how the pieces all fit together. I think the competency in the commission is quite good. If you listen to some of the questions that the commission panelists are asking, they're very penetrating questions that speaks to processes that want to understand how everything works, because at the end of this they're going to have to make recommendations about how the PIC can do better in terms of governance. So they seem to be asking the right questions. That investment banker, Emmanuel Lediga, he particularly asks a lot of questions. And of course, he's a finance man, and sometimes some of the stuff goes over your head, but you get the sense that he's really trying to get to the bottom of things. So the competency is really strong, and good luck to them in being able to distill all of this information that they're receiving. And I suppose to some degree the reason why they need these long sessions away from the hearings is that they have to distill this information. They can't do it in an afternoon. But it's going to be very interesting, and I think it's a week-by-week, month-by-month thing. It's not clear how long this is going to go on for. Yesterday, the commission head, Lex Mpati, he did make a call again to say that if anyone has any further information that they would like to contribute to these hearings that relate to their terms of reference, then they should come on down, so to speak. So it's likely that more people, as people come up and give their evidence, it's likely that it may spur others to do the same.
He made the same call over the weekend, especially expressly calling out the finance sector to say people who have any additional information or people who have documents that can prove impropriety, asking them to come forward. You're saying they will reconvene sometime late in February. Do you get a sense that they will be able to meet the February 15th deadline for an interim report to President Cyril Ramaphosa?
Well, that's the thing that I posed to their spokesperson, Thabi Leoka, as soon as the hearing started, is it really realistic? Given the fact that obviously they're still calling for more information to come forward, they're taking this 3-week-long recess. To me, I mean, as a layperson watching, it seems as though it's really quite unrealistic. They have so much information to take in and more people still yet to come. What Thabi Leoka did indicate was that if the commission head feels that more time is needed, he will then communicate that with the president, and it's only the president who would then be in a position to make an extension. I would bet that's likely to happen, but obviously we have to wait and see. Desiree?
So much for that update and feedback. Nompumelelo Siziba at the PIC inquiry. Blaine?